The GEEK Files, 2026, April 30th, a full moon tonight. Transprovincial in Terrace, fall of 88, spring of 92. Getting fired. So in April 1st, 1990, I got sober. Grace of God. Yeah. So, which was tough on the drunks at Transprovincial. And I've been doing a lot of modifications throughout my whole career because of my degree in my Bachelor of Science, I could read government documentation. Because of the high school drafting courses I took, I could do the drawings. And I could write the paperwork to get the mods done. And every time I do these, I'd take the paperwork and the drawings down to the design approval representative for the government. He'd stamp them, charge us $20,000. I'm going like, at that time, my base wage was $35,000. So for someone with my experience and endorsements at that time, that was like, yeah, wow. And because of how things were going at Transprovincial, based on that wonderful course I took, that cost accounting course I took when I was in Whitehorse, I knew the writing was on the wall. So I just already decided to go back to school. So I guess it was the summer of 91, I started applying to universities. And so by the spring of 92, I already knew that I was going back to school at UVic for engineering, with the full intent of becoming a design approval representative, because like, I only need 2 stamps a year to make my current wages. Are you kidding me? So like I knew the writing was on the wall. I had an exit plan going. The other thing that happened was the guy from New Zealand, I remember his name was Jerry, who was the base manager, had left. The new base manager was I can't remember how this worked, but the two guys, the two buddies that were in the engine shop, one became the base manager and the other became the engine shop guy. And these two drunks, they were going to do a clean sweep. These two alleged drunks, they were going to do a clean sweep, make things better. And I don't know if they realized that the company was going down the tubes, like really going down the tubes. I had an inkling, but it turns out it was like the ways were greased. Anyway, so for some reason, I was given an apprentice. They hired an apprentice. We had the freighters shook, and the old British aluminum Duraloom had a tendency to work hard and then crack. Now, a Bristol freighter basically was a military aircraft. Military really doesn't care. It's the same thing in the Caribou. They just throw manpower at it because their manpower is free. And the oil tanks used to crack and leak. So I can't remember which freighter had the left-hand oil tank was cracked and leaking. And I had this apprentice, and we're going to change this oil tank. Now, there's the book way to get things done, and then there's the way to get things done. Since I had an apprentice, we're going to do it the book way. So we went through and drained the oil tank, drained the system completely, red tagged everything, walking them through how to change this thing. Because basically, I'll show you how you do it to the book. And then anything after that, because you know what you're shortcutting. So, shortcutting stuff without knowing what you're shortcutting is dangerous because you can step on your tail pretty quick. So by Friday, it was taking us a while because it was by the book. And this was pissing off these two guys from the engine shop. By Friday, we had the new tank installed and some of the plumbing hooked up. And the plumbing's pretty complicated because the engines are dry some. So all the oil returns to the oil tank. Come back in Monday morning, and I guess it was I can remember his face. Man, I wish I could remember his name. I think it was the engine shop guy. So I came in on the weekend and finished your job, so get it out. And he had finished it and signed it off. Okay, so the next thing you do is you push it out and you do a run-up. So, okay, we're going to teach this kid how to do a run-up. Push the freighter out on the taxiway, and we start doing a full engine run-up. Make sure everything's fine. And I'm doing this, and all of a sudden the oil pressure drops, so I immediately shut the engine off. But by that time, when the oil pressure is dropping and you're doing a full power run-up, the engine's toast. And I get out, and the left side of the aircraft is covered in oil because these oil tanks hold like 15, 20 gallons of oil. Well, it turns out this engine shop guy had thought he knew what I had done and hadn't, he probably was hungover and pissed off, and he had missed one of the valves I'd opened. So there's a valve at the bottom of the return hose that drains the return line, and it was red tagged, and he missed it. So as the engine was taking oil from the oil tank, it wasn't returning it, it was just spewing it out at full engine oil pressure. I got off and I'm laughing because I think, this is just funny. We'll clean it up and yeah, whatever. And I didn't realize that the engine was toast. Well, this really pissed everybody off, pissed these two guys, engine shop guys off. And so they started bitching at Joe that I was laughing and blah, blah, blah. And then so I was going like, what happened? Well, I said, this guy signed it off, said, go run it up. So I ran it up, the oil pressure dropped, I cut it off and got out. At that point, I thought it was just spewed oil all over. I was, I'll go clean it up, and I didn't realize it was a toast engine. It toasted the engine because it ran the engine oil dry at max RPM. Anybody that's a hot rodder or on a drag, or knows, you've screwed the engine. And these engines were like hen's teeth. And so they didn't like it. So they fired me. Which was okay. So this was May. I didn't have to be in Victoria till September, so I had a summer off. So I called up Stephanie. And wound up going back up to Whitehorse for the summer to work in her father's placer mine supposedly to work in her father's placer mine up on the Ruby Range, up near Haines Junction. Actually, Tom was trying to get me up there to work on his bent aircraft and it's just look, Tom, and he just would not take no because he wanted it done cheap. I'm going look, if I do this repair, it's going to have to be signed out. And the only person that can sign it out is a B engineer, and that's Paul Dufort, and he's going to not sign it out because it's not done right. Anyway, yeah. So there I was, done with what I thought was done with transprovincial and off to an engineering degree. But not quite yet. Yeah, wish I could remember those guys' names. Yeah, well. So, yeah, making appropriate life decisions. You don't make any money, but you get good stories.